The Plague of the Zombies and the Reptile are Hammer but not Hammer, featuring monsters the company had never used before and never would again. One an undead blend of voodoo and pagan ritual, the other featuring Indian mysticism and ghastly deaths. Shot back to back in less than 3 months, they are together known as the Cornish duo and are the unsung greats of Hammer horror. What makes these films distinct is their originality. There had been zombie films before, but none like this. A stepping stone in their evolution from dead-eyed wraiths to Romero's cannibalistic corpses. While for the Reptile, Hammer created a monster of their own rather than revamping classics. Both films have pre-credit sequences, something new for Hammer. One quiet and creepy, then suddenly shocking. The other noisy, vivid, and bloodstained.
Cornwall, here you are.
Though both films are set in Cornwall, and this is the Cornish duo,
Go to Cornwall? It's miles away.
they were both predominantly shot in Berkshire, venturing as far afield as neighbouring Surrey. There is not even a stock shot of the sea, the only hint of the coastline, the sound of seagulls. The films evoking the spirit of their location, the Reptile leaning into the close-knit local community, while Plague of the Zombies manages to tie Haitian voodoo to druidic ritual and Cornwall's folkloric tradition. Originally just The Zombie, Peter Bryan's story was inspired by 1932's White Zombie. First mooted in 1963, it proved too horrific for Hammer's then distributor, but was resurrected a few years later, starring Andre Morel.
That corpse wandering on the moors is an undead, a zombie.
Morel had worked with director John Gilling before in Shadow of the Cat, among his many other Hammer roles, and brought the same dedication that he brought to Shakespeare or big budget fare like Bridge on the River Kwai, most famously playing Watson to Peter Cushing's Holmes in The Hound of the Baskervilles. And there is something Holmesian about the Plague of the Zombies.
For some time, our village has been beset by a number of mysterious and fatal maladies.
Sir James is a wonderful characterization, one of Hammer's mentors, effortlessly wielding knowledge and authority.
But he's not dead, sir.
Not yet, Sergeant. But he soon will be.
But still a very personable character, particularly in his relationship with his daughter Sylvia.
I don't know why I put up with you at all. I should have drowned you at birth.
All the more impressive as Morel was unimpressed with actress Diane Clare, though it's hard to judge her performance now as, in that baffling Hammer way, she was dubbed by Olive Gregg.
I can't imagine that the opinion of others affects you very much, Mr. Hamilton.
We might expect Sylvia to acquire a romantic interest, but very unusually for Hammer, neither this nor the Reptile has a love story. Their arrival is not exactly auspicious.
Leave us alone.
Even amongst friends, there is a sense of unease.
This isn't London, sir. This is a Cornish village inhabited by simple country people, riddled with superstition and all dominated by a squire.
And when Sylvia ventures into the woods... Alongside the zombies, this scene and that which follows it tend to get forgotten, but they are perhaps the most disturbing in the film. Proof that Hammer could do real-world horror too.
Come on, little fox. Go to ground.
Leave her alone!
Crucially, Sylvia remains a strong, independent character.
You might be attacked, Miss Forbes.
I've already been attacked. And it was here in your house.
The danger seems over as she heads home across the moors, until... This first act is brilliant, introducing characters...
There's a letter from Cornwall, Father.
I don't know anyone in Cornwall straight away.
Foreshadowing plot points...
Hello? What's this?
Nothing, it's just a cut.
Genuinely disturbing and shocking. Stylishly shot by Arthur Grant, perhaps his best work for the company, and entertainingly delivered, it's no surprise that a similar approach was taken by The Reptile, which had been Curse of the Reptiles and The Reptiles before budget intervened.
Why, it's lovely.
The arrival of Harry and Valerie is also triggered by mysterious deaths.
Have you any idea the cause of my brother's death?
In this case, Harry's brother, whose house they are moving into.
Why, my brother lived there. He also died there, Mr. Spalding.
Deaths that are put down to natural causes,
But they will say he died of the Black Death.
as in Plague of the Zombies.
Some people say it is the marsh fever, sir.
They too encounter unfriendly locals,
I say I want...
and it is Valerie who first meets the ominous Dr. Franklyn,
How did you know my name? My husband and I only arrived here a few hours ago.
just as Sylvia met Clive Hamilton.
How do you know my name?
There is another countryside attack. This one less serious,
How do you do? They call me Mad Peter. Phew.
though again with a shocking aftermath. If the comic relief can be killed, no one is safe. The dead are buried,
Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
but not for long. It's probably obvious by now that these films share more than a similar structure. It's the same village, the same country house, the same pub, the same sunken graveyard, and indeed the same graves. Marble floors, fireplaces, wallpaper, Peter's jacket even becomes Charles's, and much more. So let's pause briefly for some background. After the sensational success of the early Hammer horrors, the company fell prey to the downturn in the British film industry. Producer Anthony Nelson Keyes proposed an ambitious plan to get finances back on an even keel. 4 horror films shot back to back. The Reptile started shooting just 5 days after Plague of the Zombies wrapped, each costing £100,000, recycling sets, costumes, cast and crew, to be released as 2 double bills. Dracula Prince of Darkness and Rasputin the Mad Monk were the top half, and at the bottom, 2 folk horrors set in Cornwall, both directed by John Gilling. Having highlighted the similarities, there are 2 real differences. Both films are overshadowed by the saturnine masters of the local manor, both of whom have servants whose ethnicities may be significant. But these are very different antagonists.
Do you believe in life after death, Miss Forbes?
John Carson is fabulous as cult leader Clive Hamilton. A bad guy through and through, identified as the villain from our first meeting. Likewise in The Reptile, Noel Willman's Dr. Franklyn from the start clearly knows more than he's saying about recent deaths. Originally, this opening scene was followed by Franklyn beating his daughter, but the script was changed, possibly by Gilling, making Franklyn a more nuanced character, haunted by his past, almost a victim himself. While Hamilton is in total control,
Everything is ready, Master.
Franklyn is in thrall to his servant.
No, I will not leave you alone. And you will do as I tell you.
In my view, and others are available, the film makes it clear that the evil comes from the colonial appropriation of exotic cultures.
A few weeks later, Anna disappeared. It is not unusual in Malaya, and I awaited the usual ransom note from Chinese bandits.
The artifacts in Dr. Franklyn's study come from a variety of countries and beliefs, typical British souvenir looting. So, Franklyn is guilty of cultural appropriation, the film is not, which is convenient, but I think valid. Credit here to the production design and art direction of Bernard Robinson and Don Mingay, because while Franklyn is clearly an Orientalist,
India, Java, Borneo, Sumatra.
Hamilton visited Haiti and twisted what he learnt there to his own ends. This is his anglicised, bastardised version of voodoo. He wouldn't have all this native junk around. Just one mask to mark the secret door. The films are too tonally different.
Well? Yes, thank you.
The dry-witted Sir James and his plucky daughter keep things bright and brisk in the plague of the zombies. It feels like summer, and this was shot during a heatwave, Hammer providing ice lollies for cast and crew. By contrast, the autumnal Reptile is a more dour affair, tense and uneasy. Also, note the absence of a mentor.
Ah, Doctor, there you are.
Sir James.
Sir James inspires confidence, even when things are at their worst. He is in control. The Reptile has no such safety net. Harry follows in his brother's footsteps and suffers the same fate. The solution is grimly DIY. Valerie is an underrated character. Most Hammer heroines would have fainted at this point. Instead of a mentor,
Tom Bailey is my name, if I can be of any assistance to you.
Played by Hammer regular Michael Ripper, his best role for the company, I'd argue that Tom is the real hero.
I need your help.
I'll come straight down.
It's him that Valerie now runs to, even if all he can do is make the cocoa. He is Hammer's most down-to-earth hero, and all the better for it.
You mean you're frightened?
Yes, I'm frightened. For the first time in my life, I'm frightened.
His honest fear makes him more heroic rather than less, his basic decency shining through.
Sorry, old lad. I won't disturb you again.
We fear for him more than we would a Sir James, because this is the type of character that gets killed. As often in Hammer, the traditional hero is less interesting.
And I'm a stranger here. I don't expect to be made welcome, but I do expect to be allowed to prove myself before being judged an enemy.
Ray Barrett is fine, but Harry is underwritten and unengaging. In Plague, Peter should at least be sympathetic as his wife is killed, but Brooke Williams' performance is generally agreed to be the film's weak spot. Far better as his doomed wife Alice is Jacqueline Pierce.
Zombie.
I love that bit. Best known to cult fans for playing Servalan in Blake 7, Pierce is one of only two principal actors to appear in both Cornish horrors, the other being Michael Ripper. These were her only Hammer films, and she is superb, elevating relatively small roles. In The Reptile, Anna uses her sitar playing to goad her father. The looks between them more eloquent than pages of dialogue.
Stop!
In Plague of the Zombies, she is the victim. A fate reserved for many Hammer actresses, but she still makes an impression.
I'm sorry. The doctor isn't in.
Partly by not being the glamorous presence we might expect. This was made before Hammer's latter obsession for showing as much female flesh as possible, but their films already had a reputation for sexuality which is largely absent from Gilling's films for the company. John Gilling's association with Hammer began as a writer for 1949's The Man in Black, but ended sharply 2 years later when he threatened legal action over his script for Where is Sylvia, which Hammer had retooled for American detective series Whispering Smith. This early skirmish characterizes the relationship between the volatile director and the budget-conscious film company. Returning 9 years later, Gilling threatened to fire people from Shadow of the Cat, rowed with Christopher Lee on Pirates of Blood River, lost his assistant director on The Scarlet Blade, and bad-mouthed the films that other directors made based on his scripts. Gilling himself would say, No one loved John Gilling, which, to be fair, was hardly surprising in view of some of the comments I expressed about some of them.
I dreamed I saw the dead rise.
He contentiously claimed to have completely rewritten both of the Cornish horrors as I went along, and even clashed with Michael Ripper, one of his favourite actors. Although Ripper would also say that Gilling always brought out the best in me.
And now I've got it, I want to keep it. I want to spend the rest of my days here and die here in my bed.
Oliver Reed, whom Gilling directed in 3 Hammer films, claimed that Gilling had suffered a head injury during the war, which contributed to his temper. Whatever the case, he delivered. Peter's Nightmare is like a template for zombie filmmakers for years to come. Like the films themselves, Gilling's direction is Hammer but distinctive. Careful staging allows this scene to play without cutting. When they move, the camera moves to a new and equally advantageous angle. This is Hammer's standard practice of letting performers perform, but it's the little moments that most impress. Whether it's as insidious as the shed snakeskin, or as simple as a fumbled plate. Shows nerves, but it also subtly echoes the broken glasses that Hamilton repeatedly uses to secure his victim's blood. As does this apparently casual shot. In Plague of the Zombies, Gilling creates interesting compositions, particularly using an out-of-focus foreground. This creative framing is largely absent from The Reptile, possibly because by this time all the other 3 films had gone over budget and Anthony Nelson Keyes was adamant that The Reptile would not. Gilling may have had to scale back his ambitions. Having pressed for economy when shooting Wrapped, Keyes embarked on reshoots, practically unheard of at Hammer, mostly focused on the Snake Woman herself. Created by Roy Ashton, his last film as a regular member of the Hammer team, the makeup was a trial for the claustrophobic Jacqueline Pearce, but she still gives a memorably serpentine performance. Mostly kept under wraps, it makes for a solid climax. But Ashton's best work in the film is the victims.
I'm gonna try and fetch you, Doctor. You get some water, quick.
So much more horrifying than just a bite mark. Ashton also designed the masks for Plague of the Zombies and, of course, the zombies themselves. One more thing these films have in common, they're light on explanation. Hamilton is using the zombies to reopen his family's tin mine, having presumably seen zombies at work in Haiti. Obvious echoes of slavery, of underpaying labour to the point where they can't afford to live, and historically, the Cornish tin industry collapsed after rich deposits were found in the colonies. None of this is mentioned, nor is the fact that killing people in sufficient number to create a zombie workforce can't be the easiest way. But it doesn't matter. This is a Hitchcockian device. If the explanation is ridiculous, then establish it briskly and so late into the film that we're already too invested in the characters to care. It works brilliantly. Also, all the zombie miners are men. Where does that leave Alice and Sylvia? Did Hamilton have something else in mind? If this was explicit, it would have seemed ridiculous and censorable. The implication is more unsettling.
The Urang Sancto, the snake people.
The Reptile uses the old trope of the bad guy explaining the backstory to his captive, but adds jeopardy by having it occur while the house is burning.
Every winter, Anna sheds her skin like a reptile.
Franklyn violated a sacred sanctuary and the faithful took revenge.
You will be punished to the end of your miserable life.
Here, the explanation is not ridiculous, merely supernatural, but still pleasingly light on detail. We never learn anything about Anna's mother or her ancestry. Things are implied rather than said. The This is a story steeped in the wages of colonial sin, but rather than spelling it out, it's there for those who see it, and for everyone else, it's a thrilling horror. A Hammer finale demanded fire. It's rare to see these mentor characters genuinely panicked. Help! Plague of the Zombies climax is a little perfunctory. It's more about the investigation than the resolution, playing out like a classic mystery.
Where'd he get his money from then?
In the Reptile, while Valerie is in danger, Harry is asleep. He has been sedated, but it's still not a good look. Fortunately,
Valerie.
I've already made my case for Tom Bailey as the hero of this movie. Others have made the case for Dr. Franklyn as the true protagonist, as he finally realizes there is only one way to help his daughter, and he pays for his crimes. Please note, it's Tom who saves Valerie. And then, because Anna is so likeable,
I love animals.
the Reptile is always a sympathetic monster, but that line is still so unexpected and affecting. Underlining the fact that, at heart, this is a werewolf story, the most sympathetic of movie monsters. Also worth noting, film historian Jonathan Rigby has suggested that Plague of the Zombies is Hammer's most accurate version of Dracula.
All the graves were empty.
With some caveats, but still. The films are not without their flaws. The day-for-night shooting is terrible. The coachman changes age between shots. Not everything is in focus. The zombie's asbestos mask is obvious, and you don't see the fire extinguisher until someone points it out, then you can't not. But that combination of original ideas in a classic structure is irresistible. That's what makes these films work and what makes them resonate so much with fans. Which is good, because the grand plan failed.
Girls, get your zombie eyes free as you enter the theater. Don't be the next victim of the Plague of the Zombies.
Even though they were released 2 months apart, audiences did notice the mass recycling and financially didn't save Hammer that much. But the films were successful, and 60 years later what we are left with is the films. Dracula Prince of Darkness is one of the best of the series. Rasputin, more of a compromise, but at the bottom of the bill, Gilling's films punch above their weight in terms of originality and entertainment. Gilling made one more film for Hammer, The Mummy's Shroud, after which he only directed one more feature, The Devil's Cross, written by Spanish horror great Paul Naschy as a starring vehicle for himself. Gilling recast the lead and went ahead without even telling Naschy. The producers were to blame as well, but it's nice to think that John Gilling was making friends right to the end. Hammer historian Marcus Hearn has observed that the Cornish duo were made during a sadly brief period when Hammer pushed the envelope of modern horror while retaining the values of their classic films. In a few years, the only risks they would take would be how much blood and how naked they could get away with. But for now, they experimented within the formula, and the results speak for themselves.
You being funny?
No, I'm not being funny. I'm just trying to remember my manners.
The Plague of the Zombies, my personal favourite, is a hidden gem. It's upbeat with some very funny moments, but also genuine drama.
You saw something else up there, didn't you? What was it? What was it?
My brother.
The Reptile is less immediate, but still effective, slowly building to its harrowing conclusion. If they'd been wildly successful, then there surely would have been more Hammer zombie movies, or a greater openness to original ideas. As it is, They are delightful anomalies in Hammer's back catalogue, the more valued for their uniqueness. Nowhere near as well known as the Draculas and Frankensteins, they have become the unconscious litmus test of Hammer fandom. If you know and love these two, then you're in the club. Thanks for watching, and particular thanks to our Patreon supporters and our YouTube membership supporters, all of whom make these longer videos possible. Please check out our other Hammer reviews and retrospectives here, and let us know in the comments below where you feel the Cornish duo stands alongside Hammer's better known titles.